Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. Today I want to answer a couple of questions, the most common questions I get as a polyglot. So if you want to know, then definitely stay tuned. All right, before we get into this video, I want to tell you guys about the Ling app. Ling app is an app with 60 plus languages. Yes, you heard it right, 60 plus languages. So any language really you want to learn, it's on the app. You can learn with mini games, with chatbots. You don't really necessarily need someone to be there to talk to you, but you can have a natural, normal conversations with those chatbots and so many more things that you can do on the Ling app. I tried it out for several languages. I tried it out for French. You can try it out with so many other languages. There are so many different ones to choose from, and what I like about it is that they have languages which are not so common. So you get, your average languages like the Romance languages like French, Spanish, and then also German and other languages, Slavic languages, for example. But you get also languages from India, for example, a lot of different languages from India. And India is a country where a lot of languages are spoken. So I find that very interesting that you can learn, for example, Punjabi, you can learn Hindi, you can learn so many different languages. They have all levels, and I totally recommend you start out with an app like Ling app to get accustomed to a language that you want to learn. So maybe you're an absolute beginner, then this app is great because you can, get your foot into the language, and it's gamified, so it makes it more fun. So definitely check out the Ling app down in my description box below. All right, let's get to the questions. So one of the most common questions I get, if not the most common question under so many of my videos, is what language do you think in? So this is something that tickles so many people's interest. They want to know what language I think in, what language I dream in. That's also a very common question I get all the time. And to be honest, this is a mystery. I can't really tell you what language I think in or what language I dream in, even, because that depends really on the situation, and that depends on the context I'm in. So for example, I do certain things with certain languages and I do certain things in other languages. Let me break that down. For example, if I read certain books, for the most part, I read books in English. I don't always think in German, even though it is my native language. I don't necessarily always think in it because I've gotten used to think in other languages as I do different things. If I first start out doing something in one language, I will always continue doing that in that language. And it also depends who I'm currently talking to. So I could be, for example, in a context where I'm with friends who speak Spanish. In that case, I will automatically think in Spanish and really think what I'm saying and everything through in Spanish, and not first in German or in English and then translate. I train myself from the beginning with every language to not do that. So I never ever think first in German and then translate. That takes way too long and it also messes up with your brain, your thinking. So I got used to always thinking in the language that I'm currently speaking or that I'm in the context of, so to speak. So when I'm with my group of Spanish speaking friends, then I will think in Spanish. When I'm talking to my French friends, then I will think in French. So sometimes, of course, your brain gets mixed up. So here I'm gonna come to the next question. If I mix languages, of course I do mix languages but I've also trained myself there to not mix too much. So sometimes some word could slip up that is not really that language, but that doesn't really happen that often to me. But mostly what happens is that I directly translate, or like literally translate things you would say in one language, like sayings. you would say in one language, I do translate them into other languages from time to time. And sometimes if I'm talking, for example, to my sister, she would say, what are you saying? This doesn't make sense in German. So I could say a German phrase, something, you know, a saying, but it doesn't really make sense in German because it is Spanish or it's French. You say that in French. So I always say that, oh yeah, because that's something you would say in French, you know, but then it doesn't really make sense if you directly translate it into German. And those are the things that usually happen to me. But I don't get mixed up. I used to mix up Spanish and Portuguese a lot, but it's a lot less now. So other than that, I don't really mix languages that I like. I can pretty much like separate them, because again, it depends on the context I'm in. So I know when I'm with my Spanish speaking friends, I'm not speaking any German with them, or I'm not speaking any, you know, I might speak a little French with them, but because most of them also live in France, they also speak French. But usually we stick to just one language. Another very common question is how long it took me to learn each language. Well, that is a question I often can't really answer because it depends on the language. So a lot of times it's so like fluid that you can't really put a time on it. Like I can't really tell you exactly when I got fluent in any of those languages, to be honest. I started learning French in 7th grade, but I can't really tell you when I got fluent in French. I learned it all throughout middle school and high school. Even like in uni I had French, and I think the first time really I considered myself fluent was when I moved to France. And that was like after having studied French for 8 years, for like 7-8 years. So I can't really tell you, okay, I got fluent after 8 years. Well, technically, yes. But then again, technically for you, that might be a different case. So a lot of people want to know that because, you know, they want to put a time frame on their studying, on their learning. And yeah, I don't really recommend doing that. So and also you can't really compare the time you're learning something from the time someone else is learning something. I could be much faster. I learned Portuguese in 2 months. But then again, if I tell you who has nothing to do with Portuguese or who has never even had any contact with any Romance language, like for example Spanish, which is very similar, to learn Portuguese in 2 months, you might not be able to do it. That's why you can't really compare my time to your time. For everybody, obviously, it's gonna be different. So I've seen people learn German in a matter of like a year. They speak it fluently. But then again, they are native English speakers. And that's because German and English are, you know, Germanic languages. They're similar. But then someone who speaks Spanish, whose native tongue is Spanish or Portuguese, you can't expect them to be fluent in German in a year. So that's varying from the person, from their native tongue, from, you know, so many different factors. And another common question I always get is, which language is my favorite language? And I think sometimes you can see, especially in the videos I speak multiple languages, you can notice what languages I like. I really like. I like all of the language, obviously I'm learning, and all of the language I speak, I like them. But there are languages that, you know, have certain memories attached to them. Like for example, Spanish, the first year I lived in Spain, so many like cool things happened there. That was like my first experience abroad, my first experience as like a solo traveler, really like an au pair abroad. Like so many new things, you know, I lived through, because it's always so vibrant and happy. So, you know, that's why I like the language very much. Spanish is always like music to my ears. And before, French used to be also like one of my favorite languages. I just like the sound of it. All right, those were the most common questions. Of course, I get a ton of other questions as well, but those are really the questions I get the most. That's why I wanted to compile them in a video for any of you guys who might be interested. So let me know in the comments below if you have more questions for me to answer, maybe in another video or just in the comments. And thank you so much for watching, and definitely check out Ling app, and I see you in my next video. Bye.